Oh, you think it's just another day, don't you? Another hour to waste, another chance to scroll, swipe, sigh, and keep pretending you're not suffocating under the weight of everything you refuse to face. But no, not today. Today, the universe reached down with a crooked little smile and decided to put this right in front of you. Not a mistake, not a coincidence. You were supposed to hear this. You were supposed to feel this, clawing under your skin, pulling at something deep, something you thought was long dead. You were never meant to live a life of quiet desperation. No, you were never designed to just wake up, breathe, pay bills, and die with a whisper. But that's the trick, isn't it? They built you a little box, handed you a little script, taught you how to smile politely while your dreams rotted inside of you. They told you that wanting more was greedy, that speaking up was rude, that standing out was dangerous, and you listened. Oh, you listened so well you forgot you ever had teeth, forgot you ever had claws, forgot there was ever a fire burning underneath all that polite, hollow laughter. They pat you on the head for being good, for staying in line, for not making too much noise while your soul withers away piece by piece. They reward you for dying slowly, for killing your own spirit in small acceptable doses. They don't want you wild, they don't want you free, they want you domesticated, tame, easy to predict and easier to control. And the saddest part, you played along. You bought the suit, you punched the clock, you wore the fake smile so long you started to believe it was your real face. But deep down, something never died. Deep down, there's a voice that never stops screaming, no matter how many times you tried to bury it. It howls at you in the dead of night when the world goes quiet and you can't drown it out anymore. It's the sound of everything you could have been if you hadn't been so damn scared. It's the echo of the battles you were supposed to fight, the dreams you were supposed to chase, the life you were supposed to burn into existence with your own two hands. You think your sadness is random. You think your anxiety, your emptiness, your anger are mistakes. No, they're signals. They're the alarms blaring inside you, warning you that you're not living the life you were built for. You are trying to stuff an ocean into a teacup and wondering why it keeps spilling out and making a mess. You weren't born for this sanitized, scripted tragedy. You were meant to tear through the walls they built around you. You were meant to make them uncomfortable, to make them nervous, to make them afraid of what happens when you finally remember who you are. Every time you bite your tongue instead of speaking your truth, a piece of you dies. Every time you trade your passion for a paycheck, another piece crumbles. Every time you tell yourself maybe later, maybe tomorrow, maybe when I'm ready, you are selling your own soul for the illusion of safety. And for what? A steady paycheck? A few hollow compliments? A life so quiet, so small, that the universe itself weeps for the wasted potential. You think playing small keeps you safe, but it's killing you. Slow enough that you can deny it for a while, sure, but the rot always shows eventually. In your tired eyes, in your heavy footsteps, in the way your laughter sounds forced, brittle, hollow. You were meant to roar, not whisper. You were meant to leave claw marks on the world, not tread softly so you don't offend anyone. They convinced you that wanting more made you ungrateful, that being angry meant you were broken, that dreaming too big meant you were delusional. They lied. They needed you tame because your wildness would have reminded them of everything they gave up on. Your fire would have exposed their cowardice. Your refusal to settle would have been a mirror they couldn't bear to look into. So they taught you to doubt yourself, to second-guess your instincts, to ask for permission to live your own damn life. And every time you hesitated, every time you shrank yourself to fit into their tiny little expectations, you chained yourself a little tighter to a life that was never meant to hold you. But the truth is still there, clawing at the inside of your chest. The truth that you were meant to be dangerous. You were meant to be magnificent. You were meant to leave behind a trail of broken cages and shattered expectations. You weren't meant to live quietly, politely, acceptably. You were meant to set the world on fire and laugh while they tried to figure out how to put it out without burning themselves too. You can feel it, can't you? Even now, the stirrings of something ancient, something feral, something that refuses to die no matter how many layers of politeness you tried to smother it with. It's not too late. It's never too late. Because the moment you stop apologizing for being too much, the moment you stop asking for permission to exist fully, the moment you decide that you'd rather be hated for being real than loved for being fake, that's the moment everything starts to change. The pain you feel is a signal, not a sentence. You sit there clutching your chest, wondering why it hurts so much, why it feels like your heart is splitting itself apart just to survive another day. You tell yourself it's punishment, that maybe you did something wrong, that maybe you're just broken beyond repair. But what if the pain isn't there to kill you? What if it's the only thing left that's still honest in a world built on comfortable lies? They taught you to numb it, didn't they? To swallow the pills, to scroll your soul into oblivion, to drown it in distraction after distraction until you forgot what you were even running from. They told you that happiness was the goal, that any crack in your perfect little mask meant you were failing at life. They sold you this fantasy of endless smiles and effortless days, and then blamed you for bleeding when reality didn't match the brochure. But pain, oh pain, has always been the only thing that tells the truth. It doesn't lie. It doesn't sugarcoat. It doesn't pat you on the back and tell you what you want to hear. It points a bloody finger straight at the wound and demands you look, demands you feel, demands you fix what you've been pretending isn't broken. You're not broken because you hurt. You hurt because you're still alive. You hurt because there's something inside you that refuses to give up, no matter how much the world tries to stomp it out. Pain is the rebel yell of your soul. It's the alarm clock going off in the middle of your carefully curated little dream, screaming at you to wake up. They want you comfortable, they want you sedated, they want you so numb you forget you ever had teeth. Because a person who can feel deeply is dangerous. A person who can sit with their pain without running is uncontrollable. A person who listens to what their suffering is trying to say, now that's someone who can't be bought, can't be tamed, can't be broken the way they want you to be. Pain is the map. Pain is the clue. Every sharp stab, every dull ache, every restless night staring at the ceiling and wondering if you're losing your mind, it's all a message. It's your soul lighting flares into the sky, trying to show you the parts of your life that need to be burned down and rebuilt from the ashes. Not ignored, not numbed, faced, head on, like a madman smiling into the storm. But most people, they run. They run from the first sting. They bury it under fake smiles and overpriced distractions. They convince themselves if they just pretend hard enough, the pain will forget about them. But it doesn't. It grows. It festers. It builds an entire kingdom inside you, ruling you from the shadows while you pretend you're still free. You, though, if you're still here, if you're still listening, it means you're different. It means some part of you still remembers the truth. That pain is an invitation, not a prison. It's the only way through, the only way up, the only way out. You think the people who change the world never hurt? You think the legends, the icons, the monsters they whisper about in awe and fear never bled for their dreams? No, they just stopped lying about it. They stopped pretending that greatness was supposed to feel good. They made friends with the ache. They let the pain sharpen them instead of softening them. They wore their scars like armor and their wounds like war paint. And you can too, if you dare. If you stop looking at your pain like a death sentence and start seeing it for what it really is. A challenge, a dare, a line in the sand drawn by the universe itself, asking you one simple question. How bad do you want it? Most will never answer. Most will back down the second it gets too real, too raw, too bloody. Most will spend their lives building prettier and prettier cages, calling it success, calling it happiness, while their true selves wither and die inside. But not you. You're still breathing. You're still bleeding. You're still feeling, and that means the story isn't over yet. That means there's still a fire to be lit, a crown to be claimed, a kingdom to rise from the wreckage of everything they tried to make you forget you were capable of becoming. Fear only has power because you keep feeding it. It's not some unstoppable monster lurking in the shadows. It's a stray dog you keep tossing scraps to, wondering why it keeps getting bigger, nastier, harder to ignore. Fear doesn't live without you. It doesn't breathe without you. It doesn't sink its teeth into your neck unless you offer it your throat with a smile. Every time you tell yourself, I can't, every time you think, what if I fail? Every time you look at the door to freedom and then turn around because the handle feels too cold, you are shoving another meal into the mouth of a beast that was never supposed to rule you. Fear's just a whisper, a flicker, a joke. You're the one who crowned it king. They taught you that fear meant stop, that fear was a red light, a locked door, a final answer. They didn't tell you that fear is just the last lie you have to beat before you get to the truth. Fear isn't the wall. It's the smoke. It's the trick. It's the last desperate gasp of a dying comfort zone that knows it's about to be obliterated if you dare to take one more step forward. And you can feel it, can't you? That sick, churning pit in your stomach when you stand on the edge of something real? That cold sweat when you dare to dream out loud? That tightness in your chest when you even think about stepping out of the line they built for you? You think that's weakness. You think that's proof you're not ready. But that feeling, that's the price of evolution. That's the toll you pay to cross the bridge into a life most people are too scared to even admit they want. You've been feeding fear with your doubts. You've been fattening it with your excuses. You've been whispering it lullabies every time you chose the safe option, the easy road, the life that fits neatly inside the box you were handed at birth. And now it's big enough to look you in the eye and laugh every time you try to fight back. But here's the ugly little secret they don't want you to figure out. Fear only wins if you keep running. You stop running, you stop feeding it, you look it dead in the eye and it shrinks. You call its bluff and it crumbles. You swing first, and suddenly the monster under the bed looks a lot more like a sad little memory you don't owe anything to anymore. Most people, they don't even try. They hear fear's voice once and they kneel. They bow. They chain themselves to a life they despise just because it feels a little bit safer than facing the unknown. They paint the chains gold and call it security. They decorate their cages with nice things and call it success. They tell themselves the pain of staying stuck is better than the terror of breaking free. But you've seen too much. You know too much. You can't unhear the voice inside you that screams every time you settle for less. You can't unfeel the hunger that gnaws at you every time you pretend you're satisfied with crumbs. Fear can't control you unless you let it. And if you're still breathing, still bleeding, still aching for something more, then you've already got all the proof you need that fear hasn't won yet. You don't have to wait to feel brave. You don't have to wait for the fear to go away before you move. It won't. It's never going to give you permission. It's never going to clap for you. It's never going to step aside and let you pass without a fight. You move scared. You build scared. You rise scared. You rip the world apart with trembling hands and a wild grin, because deep down you know the real fear isn't in failing. It's in never even trying. Fear gets smaller every time you act anyway. Fear gets weaker every time you say, "I'm doing it anyway," with your hands shaking and your voice cracking and your heart hammering out of your chest. Fear loses every time you dare to look ridiculous, dare to fall flat, dare to chase something so big it scares the hell out of everyone around you. They'll call you reckless, they'll call you foolish, they'll call you crazy, and they'll mean every word is a compliment without even realizing it. Because the ones who move through fear aren't supposed to make sense to the ones who are still hiding behind it. You were never meant to make sense to people who traded their dreams for a paycheck and a safe place to hide. You were meant to terrify them, to confuse them, to remind them of everything they gave up on without even putting up a fight. The fear doesn't go away, you just get louder, you get bigger, you get meaner. You look fear in the eye and you laugh, not because you aren't scared, but because you finally figured out it was never as powerful as they told you it was. The world isn't fair, it never was and it never will be, but you already know that, don't you? You've tasted the bitterness of it, felt the weight of it press against your chest like a boot that just won't lift. They taught you to play fair in a rigged game, told you if you just behaved, if you just followed the rules, someday you'd get your reward. They laughed behind closed doors while you bled for a finish line they never intended you to cross. You sit there wondering why it feels like you're the only one who's fighting invisible battles while everyone else smiles and dances like life handed them a silver platter. You question yourself, doubt yourself, tear yourself apart in the mirror, thinking maybe it's you, maybe you're the problem. Maybe if you just smiled wider, bent a little lower, bit your tongue a little harder, they'd finally let you in. But deep down, you know better. Deep down, something in you growls against the leash. Every time you pretend, they don't want you to win, not really. They want you tame. They want you predictable. They want you so tired from chasing dangling carrots that you forget you were built to hunt, not beg. You see, the system isn't broken, it's working exactly as it was designed, and the fact that you can still see the cracks, still smell the rot, still feel that burn inside your ribs when you think about what you could become if you stopped playing their little game, that makes you dangerous. Most people aren't living. They're waiting for permission, waiting for the green light, waiting for someone to tell them it's safe to finally be who they were meant to be, waiting for a world that's never going to show up. And the sad part is, they'll wait their whole lives. They'll decorate their cages, write inspiring quotes on the walls, maybe even convince themselves they're free if they stay busy enough. But the moment things get quiet, the truth slithers back in and wraps around their necks. You don't need permission. You don't need a golden ticket or an invitation stamped with approval. You're already enough of a threat the moment you decide you're not going to apologize for wanting more. The moment you decide that fair isn't the goal, survival is. Growth is. Becoming so untouchable, so unbreakable, that the unfairness of it all starts to look like fuel instead of failure. The ones who win, the ones they write books about and whisper stories of in awe and fear, they weren't the ones who played nice. They weren't the ones who waited to be told it was their turn. They carved their place out with bloody hands and wild eyes. They laughed when it hurt. They smiled when it broke them. They danced through the fire with bare feet and blistered souls, and they kept moving even when every sane voice in their heads screamed at them to sit down, shut up, and be grateful for scraps. You think being good will save you? You think being obedient will somehow earn you a spot at a table that was never built for you? No. The world doesn't reward good. It rewards bold. It rewards relentless. It rewards the ones crazy enough to stand when everyone else kneels, to fight when everyone else folds, to believe in something bigger than comfort, bigger than approval, bigger than fear. You don't escape this world clean. You don't rise from the ashes without letting the fire rip through you first. You don't get to claim a life worth living without sacrificing the small, broken version of yourself that thinks you need to ask for permission first. You think it's hard now? Good. That's the point. That's the doorway. That's the universe asking you if you're willing to bleed for the life you say you want. They'll call you arrogant. They'll call you selfish. They'll call you delusional. Let them. Every insult is just another badge, another reminder that you stepped outside the lines. They're too scared to even look beyond. You want easy? Stay in the cage. You want freedom? Get ready to lose everything that was never real to begin with. This isn't about winning their approval. It's about surviving your own fear long enough to realize you never needed it. It's about becoming so sharp, so untouchable, that even the worst the world can throw at you starts to look like a joke. It's about building a life so real, so raw, so undeniable, that even when the world tries to break you down to dust, you laugh and spit in its face, because you know you were never here to play by their rules anyway. People love to talk about destiny like it's some shiny gift wrapped in gold, waiting patiently on a silver platter. They whisper about fate, about purpose, about how if you just keep your head down and stay good and quiet, someday it'll all fall into your lap. What a cute little lie they tell themselves so they can sleep at night. Destiny isn't handed out like candy on Halloween. It's stolen, clawed for, ripped from the bleeding hands of a world that doesn't want you to have it. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to hand you a neatly printed invitation to the life you dream about when the world's asleep and you're left alone with the things you're too scared to say out loud. You want something real? You want something that's actually worth bleeding for? Then you better be ready to get your hands dirty. You better be ready to lose some friends, break a few rules, and smile through the teeth-grinding loneliness that comes when you decide you're done pretending you're satisfied with scraps. Most people, they'll never understand. They'll tell you to be realistic. They'll tell you to be grateful. They'll pat you on the head and shove you back into the little box they built for you, because seeing you break out of it reminds them that they gave up on themselves a long, long time ago. Your hunger offends them. Your ambition scares them. Your refusal to settle makes them hate you before they even realize why. They will call you crazy, reckless, selfish. They will say you've lost your mind chasing something that doesn't exist. They will shake their heads and sigh, telling each other behind closed doors that you'll regret it someday. And maybe you will. Maybe there will be nights when you wonder if it was worth it. Nights when the silence is too loud and the loneliness sits heavy on your chest. Nights when you can feel the weight of every door that slammed in your face, every hand that let go when you needed it most. But those nights, those are the nights that build legends. Those are the nights when you stop being a dreamer and start becoming a force. When you realize you don't need their applause. You don't need their approval. You don't need a damn thing from people who traded their fire for a safety net. Pain is the price of admission to the life you really want. Betrayal is the toll booth. Failure is the gatekeeper. You don't get to skip the line. You don't get to tiptoe your way past the struggle. You crash through it bloody and broken and laughing like a maniac because you finally understand that every punch life throws is just proof you're still in the ring.